Now, let's talk about the game in New Orleans, because I think this one could be a blast to watch, because when these two offenses really get flying, there's not much anybody can do.
Curious what the over is right now when it comes to that game in New Orleans.
So
That's
I'm going to
be
say
a good one.
I'm going to say 68.5.
Okay, I was going to say somewhere in the 70 range. Yeah, probably
because
flirt with 70,
I think the defenses are a little better than we give them credit for.
Definitely. Texas looked awesome yesterday.
Well, Texas's interior. We talked about aliens on the Michigan. T'Vondre Sweat and Byron Murphy
from Mars.
Probably the best combo inside of anybody in the country. Mm-hmm. They are awesome. And T'Vondre Sweat, we saw him catch a touchdown pass. Dual threat.
A little Heisman there.
Dual threat. I
like it.
I haven't filed my ballot yet.
Okay.
I mean, I can't.
I don't want to get you in trouble.
I can't say Heisman Trust don't pull my vote, but
there we go.
I'm just saying. So this could be an absolute blast. Michael Penix Jr., because I think it was very interesting, the dynamics leading into the Pac-12 championship game. It felt like Vegas especially, but the world in general had just turned on Washington. They'd played tight games, lived dangerously between beating Oregon the first time and getting to the Pac-12 title game. Meanwhile, Oregon had just steamrolled everybody. Mm-hmm. But nobody, and we talked about this on the show a lot last week, like, why wasn't anybody asking the question, and I guess a few of us were, if Washington beat them the first time, was there a particular matchup problem that Washington was exploiting? And I think what it was is Washington's receivers were better than Oregon's corners.
Definitely.
And I think Washington's receivers are probably going to be better than Texas's corners too. The question is, can Texas's pass rush get to Penix in time to make that matter? Because I think you saw at points in the two games against Oregon, where Oregon did get pressure, they were very effective against Penix. Mm-hmm. But as soon as he found some time to throw, good God, that it's so beautiful to watch.
Yeah. And once they brought pressure too in that game, like just watching that game, you kind of felt a little bit of like, oh, whenever you bring someone from second or third level, usually there's some real estate behind them.
Yeah,
and
you're giving
Penix
up
was
something.
phenomenal at finding that. And then to flip it on its head, when you talk about defensively for Washington against Texas, I think that over's in trouble because there's so many weapons for both these teams. Talking about Texas, you want to take away Xavier Worthy? We got Adonai Mitchell. You want to take away one of those guys? We got Jatavian Sanders. So just the
Jatavian Sanders is the biggest X factor of all, because I think other than Brock Bowers, Sanders is the best tight end in college football.
Yeah.
Now, I know the Loveland and Barner at Michigan want to say something about that.
Fair.
But Sanders is such a weapon. He's so versatile, and he makes it hard to defend them because you have to know what he's doing and you have to be aware of what he's doing on every play. And so he may not even be the target, or maybe he's like the third option, but you are focusing resources on him at all times.
Mm-hmm. And I think the thing I would say, too, is both these teams are extremely poised. Like, we have two really just adult, mature teams. Look at that Texas defense, bunch of juniors and seniors. I mean, looked at Washington after they beat Oregon. It didn't feel like they won a Pac-12 title game. They were all just very much like, yeah, good win, awesome, on to the next one. And I was like, this is the last Pac-12 title game ever. Well, this is a big deal.
Let's think about the evolution of Steve Sarkisian, what this game means about that. So he's going to play against the program where he was first to head coach. Mm-hmm. And what was the knock on Steve Sarkisian at Washington? Couldn't get past meh. He was 8-4, kind of 500 in the conference. That was what they were. Mm-hmm. And they couldn't ever get over that hump. And he gets the USC job. We know what happened there. Mm-hmm. You know, he has to leave the job. He goes into rehab. He gets everything together. Apart from that, the part in his personal life, he's evolved quite a bit professionally. I think the Steve Sarkisian who coached Washington never could have done this year with Texas. Like, they would have fallen apart after they lost to Oklahoma. This guy kept them together, had Texas playing in a way that we have not seen Texas play since the height of the Mac Brown era.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think the thing that sticks out to me is kind of that checkpoint of getting back into football and who he got under football with Nick Saban. Like, this team feels to me like playing their best ball at the right time, tough in the interior. The way that he even talks about his team with the little things, talks about Kalen Robinson catching a touchdown, then running down on kickoff and making an attack. He's like, that's the standard we have internally. I mean, they remind me of a Nick Saban kind of team.
We had T'Vondre Sweat on my show, and I asked him what his favorite thing to do, like favorite bonding activity with the other defensive lineman was. You know what he said?
Lift weights.
Position meetings.
There we go.
Meetings are the most boring thing ever. And I was like, oh, you know, what's your chosen camp? Like, I'm thinking they're eating gummy worms together. not even allowed to bring food in there.
Wow.
And they just like being together and figuring out a way to wreck your offense.
Guys on the ball.
That's incredible. And it's rare. Like, there are not a lot of teams that have that. I think the teams that get to this point are the ones that do. But Washington, let's talk about Washington's offensive line.
Yeah.
Because I think the country discovered there's some athletes up there watching that Pac-12 championship game. Like, watching those dudes pull, they're moving. You're talking about 300-pounders that can get downhill in a hurry.
The edge that I thought in the Pac-12 title game that was going to eventually lean towards Oregon was just at the line of scrimmage. I was like, okay, well, that first time around, Washington kind of diced them up, but Dylan Johnson getting downhill behind that offensive line, like, it's not just we're going to scheme you up and spread you out. It's like, we're actually going to go maul you physically, man to man. And they did that against Oregon, and I think it could be a very, very good matchup with Texas.
And then we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah.
Because there are very few coaches where you always feel like they have the right call on. Like, even when they get cute, you're like, I see where he was going with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he has been, I don't even give enough credit to what he's done there in such a short period of time at Washington. I mean, heck, Alabama tried to get Ryan Grubbs away from him this past offseason. He was able to keep him. I think it speaks volumes to what he's built there and the belief they have internally.